Hello, I'm Roxy, and welcome to my controller tutorial. So, if you're like me and you like to play PSO2 with a controller, you'll quickly realize that there's a couple of disadvantages that comes along with it, and that mainly stems from your weapon swapping. Trying to swap between palettes is a bit unruly compared to keyboard and mouse. You can just do it instantly with the push of a button. So, first off, I do want to thank Reaper ZX7 on Reddit for putting together this really nice guide. I will link it in the video description. I'd highly recommend you check it out, especially if you are more of a written learner than a visual one. So, hopefully, this will help. And the main idea of what you're trying to do here is you are taking chat commands that use shortcuts to change your weapon palette and binding them to your controller. Now, any software you use for a controller on PC will probably have the capability of doing this. I'm personally going to be going over DS4 Windows because I use a PS4 controller, and I do think the PS4 controller gives you the most versatility because you effectively get 4 extra buttons on it that you wouldn't get on another controller, but I'll go into that later. Now, assuming you already have this set up to use a PS4 controller, what you'll want to do is go to your profile and click on default or whatever you have the name for your profile set to. And you are going to adjust the touchpad. So by default, it's going to be set to use as mouse. DS4 Windows just kind of makes it emulate your mouse, and you can use that to move your mouse cursor around. We don't really need that in PSO2, so we'll change it to use as controls. And you can see mine's going to look a little bit different because I have macros already set up for it. And kind of the idea behind these macros is what I've done is I've set the touchpad to take certain inputs and make them change weapons just like they change on a keyboard and mouse. And the crux of how that works is with chat commands. So if you open the game and go to your chat settings and then chat shortcuts, you can see how you have these shortcuts that are already here by default. You can normally set these to like play messages for people, but you can also put commands into these shortcuts. And you activate these shortcuts by holding Control and pressing one of the F keys. Like I have this set to F9, this is F10, this one's F8, etc. And what you would do is you can set these to read as /mpal1, like I have here. And what that does is it changes the main palette to main palette 1 when the shortcut's used. And then spal1 changes the subpalette. And so I have 4 of these shortcuts set up for palette 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, once you have the shortcuts set up, you are almost done. Basically, all we need to do is just take the touchpad settings and change them to have a macro that is the corresponding shortcut in-game. So if you open up the chat settings here, you want to go to record a macro, and then you're just going to input what you would use to activate the shortcut. So by default, it's going to be left control and whatever F key corresponds with the shortcut you used. So this one is F7, and when I have that set, it will use shortcut 7, which is what I've set to main palette and subpalette 1. And once you're done with that, you are all set to go. You just save your settings, and then you go in game, and you can swipe left, up, down, or right on your PS3 controller's little pad, and it will change your weapons to whatever subpalette you have set. This may not be a huge deal right now in the current game, but once the Scion classes come out, it's going to be hugely useful if you actually want to continue using a controller. There's also a bunch of other fun little tricks that Reaper posted in that Reddit thread. Like, there's a way you can set your photon blast to use the little PS button or the Xbox button in the middle of your controller. You can add an additional hotkey for your L2, where, like, if you want to use circle in L2, I have it set to use Resta. And I would really recommend checking that guide out if you want to see those other little tricks. If you guys have any more questions, I'll be linking a Reddit thread in the description of this video, as well as Reaper's thread, which gave me all this information in the first place. and feel free to contact me there. I don't really look at YouTube comments, so I probably won't respond to there if you message me here. But check that Reddit thread or feel free to PM me. And so, thank you. Bye bye now.